that me breathing? Oh, can you hear me okay?
Can you hear me?
I sound like a wild animal on the safari.
You would be much louder.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Oh, my gosh, I love a full house. Thank you so much for coming today. We're so happy to welcome back a very special guest here. Before I introduce Kerri, I just wanted to thank Premier Healthcare at Harrington House for the refreshments. Thank you for your patience on that. Okay, so Kerri's back. Our favorite lover of cheese is also a lover of adventure, and she's going to talk all about her safari adventures with us. Thank you, Kerri.
Thank you. All right. This might be a little bit too for my face. How's that? Better? I just breathe heavy when I'm excited. All right. So my name is Kerry McManama. I am the second Kerry McManama. So if you didn't meet me at the cheese event a little while back, it's nice to meet you. So if you say Kerri, one of us will come running. So I love cheese, as you know. I also love words, which you will find out in a minute, and I love adventure as well. I do have a day job. I work at the Federal Reserve Bank in communications, and I am a professor at Emerson College. And I've been traveling solo or like meeting up with groups for about 8 years. Feels like much longer than that. But so my favorite destinations in the United States is Sedona, Arizona. That was my first solo trip. And then internationally, London is the spot that I would go back to a bunch of times. So before we get started on the safari adventure, just kind of generally my philosophy for travel. Some people like to go and see the sights, meet the folks, meet the culture. I just like to go and feel the air over there. Like when people say, oh, Kerri, what do you want to do on safari? I'm like, I don't know, I just want to step off the plane and see how the African air feels. It's a thing to do. And so this is actually the front page of my blog. And if you look, my travel blog that I just started, so if you look on the back, there's a QR code. We'll talk about that later. And you can follow my adventures there. Okay. So on June 10th, I went to South Africa. I went to, on a tour that I'll talk about in a minute, and I went to 3 different game reserve lodges. So I flew from Boston to Heathrow, Heathrow to Johannesburg, and then we set off on an adventure. So we had 3 small single propeller plane transfers, and 1 little 2-hour very bumpy ride. But important to note that I really like to plan my travel, but for this there were too many unknowns, and it's so remote in many senses, so I joined a tour. And I don't work for them, but I can't recommend Natural Habitat, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but this is the group that I went with. I did not lift a finger on this trip. It was absolutely beautiful. Okay. So I was looking around for a safari. I had always wanted to do it. I meant to go around my 40th birthday, which happened right at the top of COVID. So that was out. And then we all got very busy doing nothing at home for a little while. And I actually got sick with long COVID. And so at about my 45th birthday, I said, I'm waiting no more. And I booked it. And I'm so glad that I did. So I said to my travel agent, I said, I'm going to be kind of particular if you can give me some ideas of tours. I said, I would kind of love to not spend this like big $1 million trip with little kids, although I do love kids. I would love to not be there with honeymooners. And I would love to not be there like on a big old bus. And he said, I've got an idea for you. And so I bought all the neutral colored clothing I could find. I grabbed the passport, I got some shots, and I flew about 7 hours to London and then about 10 hours to Johannesburg. All right, so I went on a tour called, can you guys hear me? Okay, Secluded South Africa. So it was 10 days, 3 game reserves, 6 women total, and we went to see the big 5 safari animals. Anybody know any of the big 5 animals? Elephant? Elephant. Rhino. Leopard. And there's one that I always forgot until I went on this trip. I'll tell you about that in a second. The Cape buffalo. The angriest animal in the bush. I have a story for you guys. Okay, so I guess the deal is, if you see these big five, you've hit the jackpot. You've had a solid safari. And before I get into my talk, we had an expedition leader who came with us to all the 3 game reserves, and she said, when you go home and tell stories about your safari, you have to start them with, it's very atypical to see all that I saw. We saw it all. When we got to the 3rd reserve, we had not seen leopards yet, and the folks at the reserve said, what would you like? How's that? Okay. So we said, are you taking orders? Leopards? Next morning, leopards. And I said, okay, are you granting wishes? I said, how about leopard cubs? That afternoon, leopard cubs. So you can have like a bit of a dry safari. I mean, they're all kind of dry, but you know what I mean, in terms of the terrain. But we really hit the jackpot. So in addition to it being an absolutely beautiful trip, we saw all that we wanted to see and more. Okay, so I was telling Deb and Kerri, as I was thinking of this presentation, it's just such a edgeless, infinite, amazing experience. I do not know where to start. And so I thought, all right, we've got a great group. I said, okay, let's do a little trivia. And so what we'll do is I'll give you a question and then shout it out. And then I'll tell a little bit of a story and show a photograph, okay? So is everybody ready for a little trivia? All right, multiple choice, shout it out. Okay. A group of zebras is called a stripe, a herd, a dazzle, or a flash. Flash, herd. So this is where my love of word comes in. Get ready. It is called a dazzle. We couldn't believe it. We were like, stop it, come on. It's like a scientific term, okay? It's called a group of zebras is called a dazzle. And then, so often, some animals will hang out with other species. They don't bother one another, kind of how deers and chipmunks in our part of the world might hang out together, right? So a lot of times you'll see zebras and impalas together. And a group of impalas, I believe, is called a herd. But my group wanted to petition to the powers that be, like, could we call it a razzle? So that when they're hanging out together, we can say, ooh, it's a razzle-dazzle. So we've got a couple calls in, but no luck yet. Okay, so dazzle. All right. So the plural of mongoose is not mongoose. I really wanted it to be, but it is mongooses. So get ready, it's even cuter. A group of mongooses is called a business, a troop, a colony, or a gang. Oh, yeah. It's a business. It's a business, you guys. Well, I'm telling you. So I love adventure. I love the air over there. I love words. Like, it was amazing. So these are warthogs. I did not have a great photograph of mongooses because my mother over there, close your eyes, they're like the mice of the bush. And we do not like mice. They were gross, they were small, they were everywhere. So anyways, just know that a group of mongoose is not mongoose, and it is called a business. Okay, it gets more fun. A group of giraffes is called a tower, a journey, a stretch, or a parade. I'm hearing parade, tower. It's kind of a trick question. Okay, get this. When giraffes are still, they are called a tower. But when they are on the go, they are called something different. They are called a journey. So this is just one giraffe, but I wanted you to see this is how close we were. Seeing them from a distance, they are so graceful. They seem to be floating. And their tongues are a little bit much. But just a note for some of these videos, I take no responsibility for the chatter in the background. Sometimes there's a little expletives. People get very excited. So I take no responsibility for these. All right, let's keep going. A group of rhinos. Is it a stomp, crash, rumble, or charge? Ooh, I'm hearing a lot of crash. Yep, it's a crash. Yep. And I said, oh gosh, is he very ill? He looks a bit thin. And no, that's just kind of the way they look, but they're a little bit bony. Interesting, rhinoceroses and elephants, you would think you would hear them coming from a mile away. Nope. I was on the vehicle on the very first morning of the trip, and I look over and I'm like, oh, there's a rustling. I was like, that's funny, there's no wind. Okay, there was an elephant, like half the size of this room, snacking on the tree. So the elephants and rhinoceroses are surprisingly graceful and quiet. Maybe that's part of their survival strategy. Okay, I feel like people know this. A group of lions is you got it. And I learned something really special, that a lot of times, besides mating, the male lions are off like defending territory. They kind of don't hang out in the pride. So pride is usually female lions and the cubs. And this actually is the auntie of these cubs. There is a male cub and a female cub. I don't know if you can see them. There they are, peekaboo. And the guides at each of the reserves know the animals by their body language and their little scratches on their face or little freckles that they might have. So they happen to know that that is not the mama, that is the auntie. And as an auntie of 5, it was a special moment. Oops, how did they get here? That's my little pride. So this is a couple years ago, but the tallest lady is Caroline. That's Kerri's daughter, who is a freshman in college. And the little guy beneath her is Connor, and he is a sophomore in high school. And then we've got Lyle, Tenley, and Hayes. Oops, how did that get in here? They were so cuddly and delightful. And what's fascinating is leopards do not like to cuddle at all. They play when they're young because they're practicing their pouncing, but they do not like cuddle and snuggle. They're either on the move or on their own, but the lions like to pile right up. Oh, it's Simba himself. So I will say Simba here was probably about where those windows are to me. So there are very few rules when you're in a safari vehicle. These are open air vehicles. Keep your bottom in the seat and hold on to your belongings. And that's pretty much it. And the guides kind of protect you and they'll drive you. Their goal is to get you some FaceTime. Their goal is to get you right in front, park as close as they can. They have tons of rules depending on the species in terms of how near they can get, how many vehicles can be near the animals. For example, if cubs are under 3 months old, only 1 vehicle nearby. It's very interesting. So again, all you need to do, bring your camera, bring your binoculars, bring all the layers and stuff, although a lot of times they'll have hot water bottles, blankets, very luxe, and just enjoy. It's, all you have to do is show up and enjoy, really. Okay, I got one more, I think. Get ready for this, guys.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, so playful, so curious. These guys are about 2 months old. And they're very curious. So the thing about these animals is that they are, I forget the word, but they're not wild, okay? They're inside a multi-acre reserve for their protection and for tourism. But they respect these animals so much. This is their place, and we are lucky to be near them. So they're protected in the way of, like, if a group gets very ill, they could perhaps provide it vaccines. For a group like rhinos, for example, they are all tagged for the safety of their horns and poaching. But these animals like really do their own thing, but they know us. They're like, well, there's that big mechanical animal. Like, that's super weird, super big, but it tends to not bother us. We hear all these cooing sounds when they come around. So it's an interesting relationship that the guests have with the little muffins. All right. Okay, back. Which cat cannot roar? So now that I'm like a professional safari goer, I say cats. Yeah, it just sounds like I'm in the know. Okay, so lions, leopards, cheetahs, jaguars. Good guess. Nailed it. So these are sub-adult cheetahs, they're called. So they're not babies, but they're not adults. These guys are about 2 years old. So they're just in between being out on their own in the world, like leaving the home, and being with their mama. So they'll kind of go back and forth. But I don't know if you can see, there was a kill just off screen. You're welcome, guys. It was an impala. I know a lot about the insides of impalas and giraffes now, like more than I wanted to know. But you can see he's got a little blood on around his mouth here, and he's got 2 little brothers. I mean, how about that guy? Such a cutie. So these are all males, 3 males, sub-adults. Okay, so cheetahs, I'm gonna take a little sip. They do not roar, but they growl and hiss. And when I was learning about this, I'm like, okay, so they don't roar. I mean, they're very fast, so they can run away. But I'm like, what's their like scare tactic? So they will do this huge mane fluff up. I don't know how they do it, but we saw it happen because a jackal came by and tried to sneak up on their impala dinner. And so I don't know if you can really see it here, but the mane like tripled in size. And so imagine if you were like up against an enemy and you're like, all right, I got him. And then it's like, so between the hissing, the growling, and the weird kind of mane exaggeration, cheetahs are left alone for the most part. The jackal was like sneaking around nearby, but okay, so now here is an animal who can roar. So there's no animal, it's just a sound. Okay, so we were tracking these lions. We're like, oh, they're close by. There were actually 2 sets of lions fighting for dominance. So you can hear this set of lions, and you may be able to hear, or you can't hear, but like in the distance, you hear like grunting back. And there were 2 elder lions who had been here for quite some time. And then there were 2 very young, like teenage male lions. And so the whole thing was, will the wisdom win out, or will the like youth and strength win out? It was the wisdom, guys. The wisdom went out. So just a note, so you hear that roaring? Like we thought the lions were just behind the bush. They were 2 football fields away. When they were spotted, they were like down there because the guides speak to one another. It was absolutely wild, but like the truck shook listening to the lions. Okay, get ready for another sound. You'll also hear the sound of one of my fellow guests, Maureen, who's a little bit of a comedian. But listen to this. So this is a leopard vocalizing. Hear that growling?
She's very
So
nonchalant, though.
big, exaggerated mouth. And all that came out was this guttural.
She's very confident, so I think you can see. She's not too bothered by
Angry.
He's not happy.
That's Maureen.
it. We do not
Okay, so real quick, there's more, but okay, so real quick, so he is growling so he's a young boy, and he is growling. There is an older female down below who sees his kill up in the tree, and she's like, I could use a snack. We were there for the standoff, and this young boy was like, absolutely not, and he was like exhausting himself, and you'll see this like older female being like, oh my God. So here we go. She decides to go get her own kill.
She's just weighing up her options. She's
That's
like,
the
should I
guy.
just go and make my own kill? Do I want to fight with this young boy today?
I don't think so, girlfriend.
That's Maureen. I don't think so, girlfriend. So she's got a lot of commentary in the background of our videos, which is awesome. All right, guys, back to the trivia. What is a group of hippos called? A swell, a pod, a herd, or a bloat? I hear a lot of swells. I'm hearing some bloats. Guys, it's a bloat. We also did one of the evening drives. So I'll tell you about the full day in a second. But one of the evening drives, we did a water drive. So we were in there with the hippos. They shook the boat at different points. And we had to like go in reverse. Again, I'm just there, you guys. They have cocktails on the boats. I'm just there like, gosh, this seems dangerous. And they got us right out of the way. So just a note about like a day in the life of a safari goer. So this is pretty typical, I hear. We got a wake-up call at 6 a.m. We had to show up dressed and ready at 6:30 a.m. They had a little bit of a coffee and like a biscotti or something small. We were on the vehicle, it's called a vehicle, by 6:45. And then we would take like a 3 or 4 hour morning drive as the sun was coming up. And like I said, they had hot water bottles, blankets, like all the luxury. And we would bring a backpack with like layers, hats and gloves because it's cold. It was, June is their winter, but their winter is nothing like our winter. So hats and gloves, binoculars, extra phone batteries, cameras, chapstick, anything you needed. Okay, so we'd get back at around 10 a.m. after like a full morning drive, and they would have a beautiful like lavender or lemongrass warm towel for us. And then we would have like a brunch, a hearty brunch. Everything was family style, and I guess this is pretty typical too. It's the game reserve, the lodge kind of style of accommodation. And I'll just say blanketly that every person I met there, every server, every concierge, everybody that worked there was incredible, wanted to get to know you, wanted to hear your story, wanted to hear about the animals you saw. I'm like, oh, do you ever get bored of hearing about people seeing zebras? They're like, seeing a zebra for the first time? Like, no, it's such a pleasure to be near your excitement. So then we would have like a brunch, a heavy brunch. And you would have about 3 hours to yourself in the middle of the day. Most people rested, showered, whatever. And then you'd go back for tea at 3:45 p.m. Then at 4 o'clock, you'd get on the vehicle again for another like 4-hour drive. Yep. And then you get home and have a dinner at like, depending on when you got home. And it's so incredible. Like if you were on the hunt for like a lion or something and they were nearby, the guides would stay for hours. They want you to see what you want to see. And it was just very accommodating of the group that we were with. So one evening we did a water drive. And then you do it all again the next day. It's very tiring, but it is obviously worth it. Okay, question 8. This is a weird one, but the scientists do not know why, but there is one animal who is a very water-centric animal who will do whatever it takes to not get their tail wet. Elephant, hippo. So weird, it's an elephant. So we saw elephants, multiple elephants coming down into the water, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. You can see all their beautiful wrinkles. The wrinkles are actually to keep their skin cool. The dirt gets in there and somehow cools them down. And it's so funny because everything is so dusty in the bush. And then you can see the stark contrast between the wet and the dry. And you can see this big, huge elephant kind of clunking into the water and like desperately trying to keep its tail above water. It was wild to watch. They say if you look at the end, they use their tail a lot to like swat away flies and sometimes to scare their enemies. And I guess they say maybe they don't like the wetness of the tail. We don't know, but it's an odd fact that now we all know. Okay, this is a cute one. So which animal's pups are born with eyes open and little teeth already showing? Hyena? Good guess. It's a hyena. So like I said, we had an expedition leader who came with us the entire trip. She worked for Natural Habitat. And she has been doing this, she's in her 60s and has been doing this for decades. And she said, if she could impart us with one thing, it's to go home and tell your friends that hyenas are really nice. Like they are not, they're these scrappy little animals that kind of come around like jackals after the kill. But she says, look at those eyes. they're such little delights. And remember I was saying with the lion cubs, like the guides, the animals know kind of who we are. They know we don't bother them. They don't bother us. But the guides say the hyena pups especially, they have to like train them. So the hyena pup wanted, like a little, domestic dog wanted to come and hang out with us. You guys got snacks? And the guide had to turn on the engine and use something on the side of the vehicle to kind of train it to get it away. So again, we kind of all coexist, but we saw a adorable little den and there were a bunch of little pups with those beautiful eyes. So again, you guys, elephants don't like their tails wet and hyenas are sweet. Don't forget. All right, we're almost at the end. Okay, now, it's like everybody thinks, okay, I'm going on safari, I'm gonna see the cats, right? And I'm gonna see the, all of the beautiful landscape. But actually, the birds are incredible, and so are the insects. And also, so is the terrain. Different parts of Africa have different terrain. I think South African terrain is a little bit it's a little brown, not a ton of vibrant color. But the birds were exquisite. Okay, so do we know which dazzling African bird has 8 distinct colors in its plumage? Sunbird? It is the lilac-breasted roller. I mean, can you even believe this bird? We saw those birds all around, kind of like the way that we would see robins or blue jays around here. They were absolutely everywhere. And they are nicknamed the suicide bird. They are called rollers because of the male mating behavior. They do these big, giant rolls and almost hit the ground, and then they go back up. Very impressive to the ladies. So I think maybe human men could take a page from their book. But I can share it.
No, a couple of weeks ago I saw this picture on Facebook.
Oh, did you? No, it's not me, but everybody wants to see a roller. And so we were also wowed when we saw our first one. But again, they're like robins, blue jays, who cares, whatever. So after a while, our guide said, okay, I think we can graduate to calling them what the locals call them, which is LBRs. So again, okay, guys, LBRs. Elephants don't like their tails wet, and hyenas are nice. But yeah, these guys are absolutely beautiful, and were such a treat to see. And another note on kind of getting tired of the animals. So when we first got to our very first game reserve, we're driving, and it's like, oh my God, it's an impala, which again are kind of like the deer of the bush. And then we would kind of hear a rustling on day 2, 3, 4, 5. We'd be like, oh my God, is it a cat? It's like, oh God, impala, can we keep going? But to get tired of impalas and even zebras is absolutely wild, but they are background noise at some point. And so imagine this being kind of no big deal. I mean, I still feel really charmed when I see a blue jay or a cardinal or something. I do. But yeah, these guys are totally exquisite and have bizarre behaviors. All right. Okay. This is a bonus round. Remember, we were talking about the big 5, and I said I've got a story about one of them, so I'm kind of giving away the answer. But so, which of the big 5 is considered the most unpredictable and responsible for the most hunter deaths? Rhino, Cape buffalo. Important to note, we were not hunting. We were hunting with our eyes. We were trying to spot with our camera. That is it. Shoot with our camera, I should say, guys. It's the Cape buffalo. They are unpredictable. They are very easily angered. And we have to, remember I said there's rules about, only one vehicle near the cubs, whatever. There are a lot of rules about getting too close to Cape buffalo. Okay, so here's my story. Okay, so it's about, like I said, it's like a 10-day safari. So I think this was day 9. And again, we'd seen all the cats. We'd ticked all our lists. And our guide said, oh, wow, there's quite a number of Cape buffalo over there. And we're like, oh. And they kind of just kept coming. And I'll show you guys a video as I'm talking, just so you can kind of, I'm going to turn the sound off of that one. So they just kind of were milling about. And we were asking questions about them. We hadn't really spent a ton of time with Cape buffalo. So our guide drove our safari vehicle down a hill and up around, parked it at a 45-degree angle. I'm like, wow, this is like, we're really getting in there. Okay, cool. So all of a sudden she's like, oh, they're awfully curious about us. And I said, about how many do you think there are? She said, wow, probably like 100. And I'm like, is this the aggressive one? I think it's the aggressive one. Okay, so they're coming around and it's like cool. It's like, okay, immersion. Okay, this is cool. We are in it. We are Cape Buffalo now. So we were in it, and all of a sudden I go, what's that? And she's like, oh, it's another herd. I go, do the herds like each other? And she goes, sometimes. I don't think we have any trouble on the reserve right now with the Cape Buffalo. And it's like, oh. Okay, so they're coming around. We are on a 45-degree angle parked. We've got our cameras, we've got our binoculars, we can smell everything. And all of a sudden they are fully surrounding us. North, south, east, and west. We could smell them, we could feel their heat. And I'm like, this is so cool. This is so cool. I can't wait to tell people about this. Oh my God. And then all of a sudden you heard a huge grunt and like a big and you could hear the expedition leader who was with us the whole tour in the passenger seat whisper to the guide who's driving, you have egress at 11 o'clock. And then the guide goes, you afraid? And I'm like, oh my God. And for a minute, and then so the driver goes, cameras in laps, no direct eye contact. And I'm thinking of my pride back at home, and I'm like, wow, they're gonna have a good story. How did your auntie die? She was mauled by 200 to 300 Cape Buffalo. And I was not afraid. I was very adventuresome. I was very excited. I was very present. I was very YOLO, which means you only live once. Until this moment. And I was like, I want my money back. I was like, I am, 17 hours plus layovers from home. Like, oh my God, of all the ways to go, you guys mauled by Cape Buffalo. And then they dissipated and I'm here and we survived. And the whole front of our car, because we were moving so fast once they finally moved, was covered in Cape Buffalo poop. But we made it and we got back to those lemongrass warm towels. So so they are the most aggressive animal, and we became part of the herd. Okay. All right. So the animal portion of the conversation it's not over, it's paused. I'll just tell you a teeny bit more about my trip, and then I will open up for any questions, any ideas, any moments that surprised you. So like I said, if you didn't adore the animals, you would adore the hospitality, the beautiful landscape, the friends that you made. So remember I said I didn't really want to be with kids. I didn't really want to be with honeymooners. I didn't really want a big bus. So NatHab has a segment of their offering called Women in the Wild. And so I was guaranteed to be with women, which was kind of cool. So likely no kids, likely no honeymooners, but although there could have been women honeymooning. It's a crapshoot. You never know how it's going to go. I mean, you are eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're doing drives with folks. You're sharing sunscreen. You're taking photographs if you've got a better angle. If the lion's over here, lean right over in my lap. Get that photo, queen. So it's a crapshoot. It could go either way. And we had such an incredible time. We now have a group chat called Wild Women. And I was talking to them a lot about photos. I'm like, do you have a photo of a crash? Do you have a photo of a mongoose? And I was mad that I had that mongoose photo now on my phone, the mouse of the bush. But, I want to show you guys everything. So one important thing in the upper right and the lower right, has anybody heard of something called sundowners? Yeah, oh, okay. So this is a huge part of the safari lifestyle. So we have Sally and Stephanie, and then another couple over here are headed on safari soon. I thought Kerri's, yeah. Okay, get ready for sundowners, guys. They will, in the middle of your evening drive, stop somewhere safe and wide open so that if animals come around looking for a cocktail, we will see them. And they will make you like a gourmet cocktail or any kind of, they have all kinds of juices, sodas, anything you want. Like if you said, I love whiskey, there will be whiskey on your on your vehicle. Like one time I was having a gin and tonic and there was like a blueberry lavender seltzer that went with. I was like, this is delicious. Blueberry lavender seltzer for the whole rest of the time that I was there. It was incredible. So, of course, tourism is huge. And they want you to be enchanted by their resort and tell your friends. And they truly want you to have a beautiful time in their country. It's like if people came here, it's like, okay, I'm going to take you to the North End. I'm going to bring you down the beach. I'm going to, bring you all around so you can peep the leaves. Like, so excited and so proud to show you their home. So the accommodations were absolutely beautiful. The second place I went to had a very funny door. You had to kind of puzzle piece the door to get from the outside to the inside. They were baboon proof because the baboons knew how to push a door and also twist a doorknob. They are big and mean as well. And so there was a bit of a puzzle piece to get into one of the lodges, but it was absolutely beautiful. This little note says, "Dear Kerri, thank you for spending your holidays and travel safe, your housekeeper, Bally." Like I said, the vegetation was absolutely beautiful. This is one of our guides, and this is Lorraine, who was our expedition leader. And yeah, so that's that. Okay. So, does anybody have any questions about my safari? Yes, ma'am.
Tell us the backgrounds of your guides, if they're native to South Africa, or what kind of preparation do they have to do their job?
That is such an awesome question. I told you the tour is called Women in the Wild. It was like a big girl power kind of thing. So all three of our guides at each of the reserves were women, and they were all young women. There's mostly young women and men. Some folks a little bit older, but they say the guide life is a very busy life. Like I said, we're taking that morning tour and that afternoon tour, and it is white glove service end to end. So they do not have a ton of socialization time. A lot of times they wind up dating and marrying other guides, but it's really like a young person's kind of job, in that if you wanted to have a family or whatnot. It's also not a super duper high paying job. So there's a lot of young people, and these women were brilliant and brave. One woman here took her 5 minutes to change a flat tire in the middle of the bush, all on her own. She was just like, oh, there might be a cat. Oh no, you're safe. Okay, just got right back to it. Did not want us to, be disturbed. Our time, we were like, can we help? And she's like, just stay away. If this falls on you, your limb will be gone. So to answer your question, they actually have a ton of training. They know a lot of these facts that I'm sharing with you. And like I said, they know the animals by name. They'll be, oh, the cubs were born. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Like, just in the same way we'd wait for a baby to come kind of thing. So I don't know the training exactly, but they have to be trained on like the animal knowledge, the terrain knowledge, the vehicle knowledge. The vehicles are very, very tough to maintain. And like I said, if you're driving up like over small trees, you have to know how to downshift. And a lot of the vehicles went partially through water. So there's like terrain training, animal training, vehicle training, and hospitality training. And the lady right here, Lorraine, she's the expedition leader. So like I said, she worked for Natural Habitat, and she kind of white glove came with us every place if we needed something first aid or something, or if I really wanted another lavender blueberry drink, like she would have gotten it for me. She's much older. She's about in her 60s, and she does this full time. Good question. Thank you. Yes.
Kerri, thank you. Can you describe your accommodations where you sleep? Do you sleep in a tent? Do you sleep like up on a platform? Is it wide open? Are the flaps closed at night?
So there's all kinds of styles of safaris, and this was a really kind of 5-star safari. So we stayed in lodges. They're called lodges, but so there's a central place where you congregate and eat, and then you walk on beautiful paths to it's like a mini dwelling. So 2 of them were like a little house, like a beautiful extended shed, and they all had outdoor space. Some of them had plunge pools. You could open up the doors and windows and really feel like you were in it. So no tents, no platforms. But one of the places we went to, they called it glamping. It had 3 walls, and you could open the front flaps if you wanted. So it was like kind of a tent, but it was hotel rooms, but they were exquisite. Yeah, did that help? Yeah. Yes? Oh, that's such a good question. Okay, so in general, when you go to South Africa and you go out to dinner or cab driver or something, no tipping. But with excursions like this that are very concentrated, and you are spending 3 or 4 full days with, one of these guides here, Natural Habitat does recommend tipping. So like I said, with each of the younger guides, we spent about 3 or 4 days with them. And I think for those guys most people did like 100, 200, something like that per guide. And then for Lorraine, most people did about 300. So generally in South Africa, no tipping, but in this, generous tips for good service. Not necessarily expected, but for good service. And I'll just say, you learn a little bit about the world every time you travel. The dollar is so much stronger than the South African rand. They love to be paid in dollars. So you don't even need to exchange money. You can go over and just hand them cash. Yeah. Who asked me that? Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
I have another question about security. All the reserves that you visited, not only security from the animals, but also security from other poachers.
Uh-huh.
Tell us what the government does. Does the government protect all those reserves?
That is such a good question. So just in terms of your own belongings and stuff, when you are out on these reserves, there are no people off the street who could grab your stuff. Your stuff is highly secure. You are highly secure when you are in these game reserves. The security for the animals is intense. I don't know. I don't think the South African government sponsors it. I believe it is the game reserve. I'm not sure. There might be subsidies or something. Don't quote me on it. But each reserve has their own incredibly high-tech, high security. There are people on the perimeter with weaponry. Poaching is a huge problem. And each of the rhinos, because their husks are often stolen by poachers. Does anybody know what a rhino husk is made out of? It's not ivory. You got it, keratin. Very good. The same thing that our nails and hair are made out of, which is wild. Why do people want to steal it? But in certain parts of the world, I should say, it's known as a ritzy thing to have. People will snort rhino husk, put rhino husk on the top of a cocktail. It's absolutely insane. But to your question, it's a big deal and it's a big problem. And some of the rhinos that you see, for their safety, they'll cut their husks off. The folks who lead the reserves. But one of the reserves that we went to had 1/5 of the African population, all of Africa, not just South Africa, husked rhinos. And they have an entire operations, probably 20 folks working on security alone. They have them on GPS. It's a big deal, yeah. And that's actually one aspect of the natural habitat tours. There's a conservation kind of angle to their approach. So we learned a ton about conservation and maintaining their ecosphere and, leaving nothing behind. And yeah, there was a lot to learn. Thank you. Good question. Yes. You got it. Yep. Actually, 2 women came together. Friends from work. So I'm 45. There was a 55-year-old, a 65-year-old, a 71-year-old, and an 80-year-old. We had so much fun. Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. Yep, everybody. So one duo came, friends, and then everybody else was random. So they were from Colorado. I'm from around here, Washington, D.C., Berkeley, California. I'm forgetting the other one. But yeah, all around the country. And they predominantly advertise to like Americans and Canadians every once in a while on these tours. Every once in a while there'll be Europeans, but you're likely to find Americans on these tours. Yes. Good question. Okay, so I have a little trauma story on this one. So of course I brought my iPhone. Gotta have it. And I brought an old digital SLR camera that our family had had for a long time. And I love outdoors and outdoors photography, but most of the photography that I like is very micro. It's like little mushrooms or like a beautiful leaf with the veins. So an iPhone does really well for that. But with this trip, you want a long lens. And so I took, I had a couple of long lenses and the base of the camera, and I took some great photos with it, had a ton of fun, and then it died. It's okay. It had lived a very good life, though. It really did. And at one of the hotels, I was able to rent. So this photo, the leopard boys over here, cheetah boys, that was from a rented mirrorless camera. And so if you were taking a holiday to South Africa and you're not like a huge camera person here at home, I actually recommend renting a mirrorless camera from the United States and bringing it with you. That's what I would do if I went back again, because I don't really have occasion to take long view shots. So I wouldn't waste the multiple thousands of dollars to buy it. I would rent it. And you can get insurance too in case something happens. Good question. Yes. Oh, good point. My mother knows all the backstory. So our guide had an incredible camera with an incredible lens, and she actually took the photo of the lilac-breasted roller that I showed you guys up here. So you can see like every fine fiber of the feathers, and honestly, her lens was this big. So that was part of the deal as well, is that everybody took their photos, including our guide, and put them in a portal. So we all have access to one another's photos and videos now. Yes, ma'am. Oh, good question. For South Africa, so it's different every place you go. Like Botswana, for example, has like a whole different protocol than South Africa. Also, time of year matters too, like rainy season, whatever. So I took malaria pills. And actually, our guide in South Africa was like, you Americans and your malaria pills, like it's not rainy season. But I was just telling Sally that she and I actually both had appointments at, Sally's going on safari, everybody, appointments at Newton Wellesley at the travel clinic, but it was a little too last minute for me. And the CVS Minute Clinic in Medfield did it for me. The woman was lovely. So what they do is they have access to a map, and they look and they say, okay, so here are the requirements for South Africa. Here are the bordering countries. How close are you going to be to the border? And then they follow CDC protocol. So I took malaria pills. And I had a couple of vaccines that like I wasn't quite up to date. It was like, I don't know, Tdap or something. I'm not sure. So I just had to be up to date with just a couple. It was like a double, triple protection. Like none of them were required. But the nurse practitioner at CVS Minute Clinic said, well, you're here. Let's just do you. So it depends on where you're going, and it depends on the time of year. I'll bet they would. They have an incredible concierge. I bet they would. I saw one other, yes? Such a great question. And I was pretty much humming the Lion King Circle of Life the entire time I was there. They make their own kills. Yep. And if a certain population seemed to be starving and seemed to not be eating, then the reserve may step in. But for the most part, it's all up to them. And every time you saw like one giraffe go down, which we saw a giraffe go down, and then we saw the entire internal rib cage of the giraffe later, you just think, okay, that one died, so that one can live. So they feed themselves. And in terms of like invasive species, that's a really good question. I mean, they will, certain animals like will get illnesses that they'll pass among one another, like a flu type thing. I'm not exactly sure. And I think that's where insects come in. Another thing that's fascinating is the reserves all talk to one another, and they will move animals from reserve to reserve. So if one is really overpopulated with rhinos, they will give some rhinos to one that needs rhinos. The only real big one they do besides overpopulation is when male lions come of age, they will move them to another reserve to prevent inbreeding. That's really problematic. And also dominance, like it would get too crazy. So they really are mindful of overpopulation and then those male lions. Did I answer your question? Okay, thank you. I went in June. So our summer, their winter. It was perfect weather. I don't like to be too hot, so it was like a little chilly in the morning and then like short sleeves and pants in the afternoon. It was perfect. Hats and gloves though, for sure. Because we were out in the dark. Yes.
I'm curious about the reserves. Are they national reserves, part of the government of South Africa? Have anything to do with them? But you said they're kind of linked to each other. Are they private? And then secondarily, I guess you guys were not the only tour company that comes and visits them, right? Mm-hmm. This is like they service all sorts of tour companies?
You got it. So, has anybody ever heard of Kruger National Park? That's the big game reserve in South Africa, and that is sponsored by the government and maintained by the government. And that's one of the very few, at least in South Africa, that you can do self-drive. Guess who would not be doing self-drive? So the government manages, subsidizes Kruger National Park, which actually bordered one of the places that we were at. For the most part, for the other ones, I'm pretty sure they're private. I'm pretty sure they're kind of managed like a private hotel or private institution. I don't know if they get like some subsidies if you have X number of rhinos or something like that, or if they're completely private. But government and conservation, there's a lot of energy around that among the guides. They're not doing enough, the conservationists will say. So yeah, good question. But it's wild. It's like, obviously it's wild. But it's like multiple like acres of land with an electric fence and GPS and cameras everywhere. I couldn't see one camera, but they're keeping a major eye on the populations and the security. Yes?
I started watching the PBS documentary Big Cats 24/7. Have you seen it?
No.
It's a series. It's season 2, and if you're interested in how the animals live and relate to each other in particular, it takes place in Botswana, which is just north of South Africa.
Big cats.
It's really interesting. It's season 2. There was a season 1, but it's really unbelievable. I think it's on the 3rd episode now.
Wow. And it's just cameras in their natural habitat, like checking them out. Yeah. And they say like on National Geographic, like if you see a beautiful photograph or like a beautiful film of a kill, like for one photograph, they could be there for a month. Like for that one like 2-minute action shot, they could take a trip from, New York or wherever they're shooting from and like miss it and have to go back again. So there was a lot of waiting and driving in between a lot of these photographs. Nothing except the skill of the guides. Like I felt very protected. Yeah. They sure do. Yep. They the last thing the guides do before they get in the vehicle in the morning and the afternoon is they will put the bullets from their belt. These are like young, small women. And they will load it up into the rifle that is taller than they are and do like a trigger practice. There's like a blank trigger practice. And then the tour will begin. And there are certain kill spots in the animals that will make them go down instantly if you hit the shot. And to your question a moment ago, that's part of their training. Yeah. I felt safe except for the Cape Buffalo. Yes, ma'am. Good question. So the travel from Boston to Johannesburg was on me. But when you pay for the safari, at least for this one, end to end. You didn't pay for food, you didn't pay for transfers, you don't need money. Was 10 days enough? I'm a person who loves to travel, but I'm also a person who is like ready to come home. And 10 days was good for me. 10 days was good. I could have probably done like 14, but we had gone to 3 different places, so I'm packing up and unpacking 3 different times kind of thing. People say, while you spend, multiple thousands of dollars to get over there and all that, it's like, do you want to kind of take an extra hop skip? That's up to you. But I think my tolerance was pretty set at 10 days. Yes, ma'am. Oh, good question. It was actually smaller than I thought. It was like, I don't know, maybe 4 hours or something. It wasn't very long. So everybody has a bookmark. On the back is a QR code if you want to check out my blog. And so just remember, guys, the world is full of dazzles, crashes, and journeys. And thank you for being part of mine. I hope to spot you again soon.